can't stop. Hustling every minute, every second, can't stop.
What's going on, party people? It's it's Yellow Boy number 3, and as always, I'm here with Hogs Wars, the big OG, and this is Bros, Brews, and Botches, and we trying something different. I mean, we did the state of the B3 channel and said that we are gonna have something new for you people, not in gimmick, but we're gonna do something called Bro Talk today. So what we're gonna do here is me and Brother Hogs Wars. We have a few questions that we're gonna talk about with each other and have discussion, and just kind of get what you guys think about it in the comment section. We'll just kind of give our opinion and understand we are not reporters. We're not, professional wrestlers or professional aggregators. We're just two guys on the internet who have an opinion about wrestling, which means everyone has an opinion about wrestling. But before we get started, make sure you guys that you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that you're writing in those comments, and make sure you're turning on those notifications so that you know when the bros are doing something new. But without further ado, Hogs Wars, how you doing, brother?
Doing pretty damn excellent. How are you doing over there?
Same, doing pretty daggum excellent. Lots of wrestling this weekend. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the post ROH show that we normally do because life was lifing, right?
Pretty much. It kind of got done in, but I think most people at least got to see what happened, which is what most people care about in the first place. So, no biggie.
Pretty good pay-per-view.
Better than the last one. Not as good as like last year's, but last year had the dog collar match and all that other kind of stuff. That it's kind of hard to top that one. That was a pretty beastly freaking match. So,
if you were
this definitely was a good. You asked me if they should have charged for this because it was actually better than the one they actually charged for, but that's a whole nother story.
Yes.
But just interesting matches all over the place, and to have a women's match be the main event was cool. Just it might have went a little long, maybe, but maybe that was the point. So we'll see from there.
So your match of the night with ROH, what was your match of the night on Friday?
It's got to be the 6-man survival for the TV title. That thing was so freaking nuts. So even though I will say the 6-man match with the BCC, FTR, and Briscoe was pretty darn nuts too. But for just pure damn good match that didn't require furniture, as we like to say, nothing beats that six man. Say what Corny and all the old wrestling guys had to say. Sometimes a match with just guys kicking each other's teeth in and nobody doing something outlandish is wonderful, because that match was beautiful.
Gotcha.
Some of that match was just nutty. Oh man, they had like the little 4-way guys where all guys on the side on the one post, and everybody falls backwards because somebody's throwing one person, the other person power bombing somebody else and stuff. And you got the luchador running off the darn ropes and jumping on everybody, and literally skipping one guy to get past him to jump over everybody else. I'm like, come on, dude. It was nice. So
is it worth the rewatch?
You darn skip it. It's if you were the type of person that said, man, I don't even want to watch, or you want to watch that one. If you don't watch no other match they did, definitely watch that one. Nice. Now, if you've been keeping up with the Athena thing, you need to watch that one too, but that's more about how great that storyline is. But I just wonder where it's going to go now, by the way they ended anyway.
Wow. Again, sorry we weren't able to do a post show for that, but you guys hear it first. Go back. If you have Honor Club, go back and watch that pay-per-view. Final Battle, correct? That's the pay-per-view.
Yes, sir. Final Battle.
Final Battle. Go back and watch it if you have it. If not, go sign up to Honor Club. From what I understand, especially from Hogs Wars reports, they're very consistent. And maybe we'll get into in a future episode of this Bro Talk about what ROH can do to kind of branch itself completely away from AEW and their type of style and stuff like that. But yeah, go check them out. Go check out Hogs Wars results and stuff that he posts on Instagram. But we'll jump right into this, man. If you want to go ahead and we'll just kind of go back and forth, kind of very informal with this. But what's the first question that you got on your list there, Hogs Wars?
Speaking of ROH, because why not?
Segue.
There's this lovely person on there named Athena, who has literally held the belt for like 320 days, I think it is. And she just won her, pay-per-view in her hometown of Garland, Texas. And God, I love Tony Khan someday, but don't speak on camera, bro. But anyway, I want to know what they're going to do with her character now that she has, long story short, did what Samoa Joe did and just kind of run roughshod through that part of the company. It's time for her to move on and do some, like I would say, big name stuff at the big show. But in the same token, someone has to beat her to get the title unless they just do like they did with Samoa Joe and have a tournament. So what do you think would be a good idea for her to do, and which show would you rather her be on, Dynamite or Collision?
So Athena had tried her hand at the main, if we're going to call it the main roster, if you will, of AEW, and there was the big brouhaha about her coming in, and Tony Khan did what Tony Khan had done for a while there, bring in somebody big, make a big noise for them, only for a few weeks, months later, it just kind of fizzled out and, just kind of booking hell, if you will. I think she was, if I'm to remember correctly, she has been interviewed, and in her interview, she said she wants to go back and try out again her hand at the main roster, or on Dynamite, Collision, Rampage. I see her being more of a Collision wrestler. But let's be honest, like right now, they need more women's matches in general on all shows. Granted, Ring of Honor does a good job of having women's matches, but how many people are watching Ring of Honor to see those women's matches? That's the question, because not a lot of people are subscribed to Honor Club. So I'm curious to, as we do this tete-a-tete, I guess you would call it, I'd like to see her on Collision, but how would you book her as far as her going back to, TBS, TNT? How would you book her coming back?
See, the thing is, she's been so dominant and so strong that I worry that just like Iron Savages, just like the Righteous, they gonna get them on quote unquote main TV and then treat them like ne'er-do-wells, like nobody's ever seen them before,
right?
And do them in, instead of doing them more like the Creed brothers. And we know she's a name, we know she's a draw because she got everybody to go to Garland, Texas, and
no shade, Garland, Texas,
which is just a suburb of Dallas, if anybody wondering. And you say to yourself, all right, if she putting butts in seats, we need to put her somewhere near the title picture. Which, right now, like you said, she needs a storyline. She has built a master storyline where she is. This idea that she's breaking the porcelain princesses in half and she needs somebody tough enough to beat her so they can be as tough as she is, blah, blah, blah. Then this, minion MIT training thing, which her and Billy Starks and Lexi Nair did, was pretty decent. I liked all of that. That was pretty nice. So we formed that she can lead teams. We formed that she is a beast. She needs to come in as a beast, and she needs to come in tough and rugged and kicking ass and taking names. You just brought Thunder Rosa back. You just brought Abaddon back.
Right.
So the question becomes, you know that you got, Julia Hart, who's earned the right to be a title holder right now because she's been doing great work. Would you rather? Part of me would rather have feud with her first, but only because this thing with Abaddon and now Thunder Rosa lends itself to a better storyline for them on the higher card for the sake of art. Now, if all things being equal, yeah, I would rather her be in the title picture, but since she ain't been on TV in a while, let's put her in something that she can build herself up, get her name back out there again, and then, kind of gradually bring her over there because she showed she can teach, she can run a match, she can make other people look good while they're in the match with her. So give her a shot. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I think the issue is that, so it looks like as of right now, like you said, with the TBS championship, it looks like you have this thing that's going on with Abaddon, with returning Thunder Rosa. We don't know what Sky Blue's role is because right now she's teaming with Julia, but a couple of weeks ago she was against Julia. So, we have that whole dynamic going on. And do you want to put, or I'm only assuming they want to wait until that whole deal is done before inserting a possible Athena, which she still has to drop the title in ROH anyway before she can even, do anything. And, you kind of want, the way that they've built her in ROH, you don't want to do it on a random episode of, ROH. You want to do it at the next pay-per-view, which isn't for a while,
Right.
So it's like, what do? You want, or unless they do it at one of these AEW pay-per-views, which is always an option because they are putting AEW. And then I'm not even going to get into the fact that they've created another championship belt for Ring of Honor, the women's TV championship, so that's another possible title that goes on a pay-per-view that's AEW prominent, but I digress, in the words of Taz. Then over on the AEW Women's Championship side, right now you have this thing with Toni Storm, and of course they're slow burning it for Mariah May to do her, eventual turn or whatever you want to call it with her, feuding for that belt. I can't even think of who right now is a contender for the World Championship. Riho just came back, and she's a crowd favorite, but I don't see her, going into a long-term feud with anyone at this point. But again, it all kind of boils down to the fact that AEW has they've really got to start putting on more women's matches and making women's matches more important. Because right now, just slapping them in at either 8:30 Central Time, or 8:20 Central Time, 8:30 Central Time, or 7:30 Central Time, which is 8:30 and 9:30 for you guys on the East Coast. And having them relegated to just that one segment for about 8 minutes doesn't help the women's division or make it seem like it's important. So, in short, would I like to see Athena on TBS, TNT? Yes. How she'll get up there and get back and be booked strong to where she's at right now with ROH, I don't know how they're going to maneuver that, especially with Tony Khan at the helm, still doing that. No shade to Tony Khan, but bro, you've got to let other people book the stuff for you. You can't do everything. So do I feel confident that she will be as a big name in the main roster, if you will, than she is in ROH. No, I'm not confident in that. So we shall see. Anything else on that? I'm sorry, I kind of Beauregard the time.
No, that was the whole point, to ask you how you felt. So we got the answer. So that's all. That's all that matters.
Gotcha.
So since my question is done, what's your first one?
So my first one is it's switching gears over to it can be WWE, but it's also all of pro wrestling. So it's something that, you know, I peruse through the IWC, if you will, and I hate wrestling fans to an extent. Like, I hate looking through and seeing. So my question is geared towards an old adage that Vince McMahon had made towards the WWE fans, and that is, do you think that Vince McMahon was right when he said that wrestling fans don't know what they want?
So, yes and no. Yes, because as we have learned, wrestling fans are fickle. Just period. There's no getting around it. But as someone has always said, you know what you like, also, and you know what you don't like. And let's be honest. No one liked The Rock when he first came out. It took everybody to dog The Rock for The Rock to become The Rock, and then all of a sudden everybody liked him. Triple H was considered boring and whatever and blase, even though he was a decent wrestler. Triple H got hurt and came back and was swole. Everybody loved Triple H. Sometimes you have to find what really is more you that makes people say, okay, I believe that guy. I believe in him a little more. Or, God, I hate that guy so much. I want to see him get his butt kicked. To actually care. Because, I mean, let's face it, 90% of MJF's whole thing, right or wrong, is because he's a scumbag, plain and simple.
Yeah.
But now he's our scumbag all of a sudden. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, am I a fan of that all the way? No, but the fact he got a kangaroo kick over, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, lets you understand that the man is doing something right. So, from a logical standpoint, I really don't think from a day-to-day, because, I mean, let's face it, Raw is 3 hours long.
Yes.
Everybody talks about the slog that it is. But let's be real. How many of us go onto our GM mode and can make a better show than they doing right now half the time? No. We think we would. Unless we put it on, then if we put it on a thing for everybody else to see, they'd be like, this is the most boring thing we've ever seen. Because what you think is great is not always what's going to turn out great. It's just the way it is. But in the same token, let's be real. We get almost 20 hours of wrestling a week.
Yeah.
If you're watching 20 hours of wrestling, I don't care who you are, some stuff is going to be stale to you regardless. It's just the way it is because you're seeing so much of it. So, do I think the fans always know what they want? No. But one thing I do know is when we find something we like, we love the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Yeet, for example. So, that's why I say it's a little bit of both.
So, I get that. But I also look at it, like I said, I look at all the stuff that the IWC has put out there and stuff. And it's like, if we really be honest with ourselves, like 5 years ago at this point, maybe 6 now, 6 years ago, we were upset with the same still WWE content. There wasn't anything else out there. I mean, New Japan was there, but that was for a niche crowd. Impact was always out there, but again, there's people, your niche crowd, you know. So, you know, folks were like, we need something that's an alternative to WWE because WWE is stale. Fast forward to 2019 and we get AEW. And now you have those wrestling fans, which I don't think are, you know, it's a smart thing to do or say. where you now have these wrestling fans who are so tribalistic that, you know, they want WWE to put AEW out of business, or they don't want to see AEW succeed. And, you know, like you said, they're so fickle. It's like, well, I hope that blah, 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 you know, and it's like, well, did you not remember 5 years ago when you said you wanted an alternative? Now here's this alternative, and now you're like, why are all these ex-WWE wrestlers going to this, you know, WWE wannabe place or whatever the heck that they say? You know, it just kind of, it again, all I could think about was Vince McMahon saying, you people don't know what you want. That's why I have to think for you, because they'll say they want one thing, but then, you know, they get it and it's like, no, I don't want that. That's not what I wanted. It's not the way. And it's like you said, you can always sit there and be a couch quarterback, but that don't mean that you're going to make the best, you know, best show that's out there or whatnot, just because you think in your head that it's going to be, you know. And there's other things at play too. You have to, people don't understand that there's contracts, there's, you know, sponsorships, there's, if you're talking about WWE, they're publicly traded, so they have, you know, folks that they're responsible for that product or whatnot. And then, you know, there's the TV rights, which I know a lot of people are talking about right now, the TV rights deals that are there and stuff like that. So I just think it's just really stupid to get caught up in like the tribalism of it or whatnot of wrestling. I say watch wrestling. I say that if you're a wrestling fan, then you're watching wrestling anyway, regardless of what promotion it is. But if you're going to choose one promotion over the other, I feel like you shouldn't call yourself a wrestling fan. I feel like you should just say, I'm a WWE fan. If that's what you're wanting to, and that's fine, you know, or I'm a Impact fan, but don't sit and say that you're a wrestling fan if you're not into wrestling. So adding that caveat to it, does that change anything of how you look at, you know, the idea that maybe Vince was right?
I look at it more of, it is up to the promoter of whatever business it is to have the vision to say, this is what we're looking for, and whether you like it or not, we're going to give you something to either like or don't like. Because the number one thing that wrestling does, that soap operas do, that random Netflix shows that all of a sudden becomes hits do, is they make you care one way or the other. And as long as you care, you know, that old school thought, all publicity is good, you know, there's no such thing as bad publicity, blah, blah, blah. Then great, because they're talking about you. If they're talking about you, they're paying attention to you, which means they're giving you clicks, they're giving you views, they're giving you something.
Right.
Which means they're giving you energy. Great. Do I think he's completely right? Nah. But do I think he has a good point that, you know, in this culture, creativity is not appreciated as much as it should be? You darn skip. Because we'll use and I'll end it with this. We'll use rap, for example. In the 80s, the guys that were the most popular were the guys that put people dancing, had themes, and were creative. Then, quote, gangster rap came in, and all of a sudden everybody had to be real all of a sudden.
Right.
Even though 90% of them ain't sold a key of coke a day in their life. And then now we're at a point where there are the J. Coles who tell you we haven't sold a lick of drugs in our life. And then we have the Fat Joes who say 90% of stuff I wrote, I never did. Which does mean 10% of the he did do, but he's trying to put the 90 out there so you be like, all right, you get what I'm saying? So
right.
In all those instances, the generation before said, this is trash, why y'all like this? When the reality is, only the DJs were there from Jump Street to the end and found what they liked and kept it going. That's just the way it is.
Right.
Just like a promoter. A promoter's job is to be that visionary to say, hey, things are changing. We need to change with it. And there's one thing that even Vince did after a while, for example, it's change. He did a great job building all these characters. He did a great job getting all this great talent and for that return, jacking the industry of all their best people. But then when he saw that things were changing after Hogan and Warrior, he said, we need to change. Then when Stone Cold comes off and he realizes, you know what? That jerk is more bigger than the guy that's been the guy. It's time to change again. Shawn Michaels guy, that kind of guy's becoming big. We need to change.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they got kind of old and stale finally, here comes the ruthless aggression thing. We changed again. So, I mean, the key is to be able to grow and to change. And if you have the vision to do that, keep doing it. What I think happened to him near the end was, I think his vision was bigger than the reality of what he had. He was so busy trying to keep this same aura of we're this big and we have to be this big and act this way that he kind of forgot what was more important. That it's got to actually be entertaining too. You got to create stars too. You got to build people to be at that level to keep putting butts in seats. And it's almost like he forgot that was important until we got what we wanted and had a second group come around and they were putting butts in seats because they had a few stars.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Now, my problem with AEW is the same problem I used to have with WWE. They got stars and didn't build others. They got some names, but they didn't build stars. MJF is for lack of a term, he's almost a self-built star himself. And it's all about who you go against, but in the end, that's what it is. But
that may be delving in. Yeah, I was about to say that may be delving into a different conversation.
I know, but getting back on topic, I would still say not really. At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
but I do see where he's coming from, so I'm not so off topic.
Well, I mean, and I'll say this: that remember, Vince McMahon says there's no bigger character than the WWE itself. So the WWE is bigger than the actual characters that they have in it. So that's the thing that he's always pushed. But coming up on your second question, I'll try not to be very long-winded with an answer on your second question.
Well, and this is where me and you overlapped more than I thought we did. But speaking of WWE versus AEW.
Segue.
Why in the world do you have to choose? Who told you that it was so important? And this ain't you, but you get what I'm saying.
Right. It's you people.
Why wrestling fan you people decided that, and I blame Twitter for all this, but why did you decide that I'm only allowed to like one thing? If I'm a wrestling fan, like you were talking about earlier, I'm allowed to like more than one goddamn thing. So my question to you is, who high horse decided that we were only allowed to like one thing at a time? Huh? Who thought that was a good idea?
It's because we all have a platform to have a voice now. And unfortunately, the person who screams the loudest is who folks think has the best opinion these days. Yeah. So if you scream the loudest, no matter what you're saying, you have the best opinion in this day and age of, social media and Twitter and, whatever else. But I think it's very healthy to be able to watch whatever it is you want to watch, because each promotion offers something different to different wrestling fans. And I get it, certain things are no longer for me. I have to continually say that, things aren't necessarily geared for me. As much as I think that it is, there's certain things that's not geared for me. I'm like, boy, this is corny. That's because it's not geared for me. It's geared for somebody else. And I shouldn't down somebody for liking what they like. You like what you like. I like what I like. You like what you like. We can differ in opinion on it. The fact that, you know, hey, I like this and you don't like that. But we shouldn't get to the point where we're so tribalistic, which, I mean, let's face it, we're in North America, we're in the US, where people go at each other's throats for sports teams. Insert local sports team. You know, we get so we take them as our own possession. We get possessive about our sports teams and stuff, and it's like, well, at the end of the day, they don't really benefit unless you're doing sports betting, which, you know, other than that, they don't really benefit us, but we so possessive over everything. And like I said, we all have voices out there in the void that is the internet, which we feel like our point has to be made. But like I said, it's very healthy. If you like what you like, if I'll say this and then I'll kick it over to you. If you're a true wrestling fan, be okay with what someone else likes. Because at the end of the day, we are talking about a sport that has predetermined endings, and it's not real. You know, at the end of the day, now what the wrestlers experience is real, like they get real injuries and everything, but it's a predetermined sport. Like, again, we have to suspend our reality for someone getting thrown into the ropes to do an Irish whip and the person runs back. That is not how physics works. You know, and for people to get upset, oh, they're having an intergender match, I don't like that. Okay, that's fine. When does a woman beat a guy? It doesn't matter.
All the time.
It's wrestling, right?
All the time. You've been to a club, you've seen it happen. It happens. But anyway.
But it's wrestling. You know what I mean? So, like what you like, have an opinion about it, but don't be a douche when you get out there into the void. Like, be okay with someone liking what they like. We're all individuals, people. You can like what you like and have somebody like what they like and be okay with it. We're not all going to be carbon copies of each other. But how do you feel about this particular topic?
I just don't like somebody telling me that I'm only allowed to like one thing.
Right.
It was one of those things that used to bother me when I was growing up, where you're a black man, so you ain't supposed to like country music. You ain't supposed to like rock and roll. You ain't supposed to like R&B and hip hop because you black.
Right.
Why? When all the other stuff was technically started by us, that's where the blues is. It's just white guys being country. Woohoo! It's okay. So I don't mind anybody saying I love this. But I do have a problem with you saying I'm not allowed to love that and this as well.
Right.
Especially when, like we just said 5 minutes ago, it's 20 hours of wrestling on.
Yeah.
And that's not even counting New Japan. That's not even counting Impact sometimes. That's just counting the main 2 channels and ROH, the stuff we normally watch.
Yes.
So if you want to know people that even watching Impact 2 and you're watching New Japan 2 and you're watching NWA, that's a lot of wrestling. That is a life of wrestling. So for you to have the gall to say, I can only enjoy one of these, you're not allowed, like, that means you either you have money in the game and skin in the game, which is why you want one to succeed more, or B, it just means more to you to just complain about something.
Right.
So, end of the day, I would never be a fan of that. I don't agree with it. And I'm not the type of person to say I would never talk to you again if that's who you were as a person. But I'm the type of person that even just today, I've had debates about different things that have nothing to do with just, one group or another, because I want to hear your side. I want to hear different sides. I want to hear Republicans tell me why I'm supposed to love Trump so bad and why he makes my life better. I want to hear it because I want you to explain to me why someone who says one thing and did something else I'm supposed to be excited for. And then I'm gonna tell you how much I think Joe Biden is not great and wonderful, but that's a whole nother story.
Right.
So, so at the end of the day, I just want people to remember that it's open communication is more important than no communication.
Yes.
You can go ahead with your next one because I'm interested now. I'm intrigued.
Intrigued. So we'll stick with the WWE. So it's a bit of a
Segue.
bit of a hot take, and probably getting folks upset, but whatever.
Riled up.
Get them all fired up. But is CM Punk overrated? It's clobbering time.
Hey, you gonna be? I think you'll be surprised by what I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Because I know you. From a wrestling standpoint, hell yes. From a media market, big name draw standpoint, no. He is as advertised when it comes to getting in front of a microphone and doing what all the guys in the 80s were able to do. Put butts in seats.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to convey what was the important things that you needed to know to make you want to go watch something, make you go pay attention, make you go buy something. That is where his power is. What I think the thing about AEW that they couldn't stand with him was he didn't want to be a bottom feeder. He didn't want to kiss nobody but. He didn't want to be everybody's best friend. He wanted to come in there and make money. And when you do that, but you take care of all these other young talents who, when they left us, all they said was how great you were. But these guys at the quote-unquote top, you ain't paying them no mind because you're not kissing their butt like everybody did on the internet. Then that's what happens. But from a actual wrestling match standpoint, no, he's not the best in the world. Especially not anymore. I mean, MJF carried him in that first match day. I don't care what he wants to say.
Yeah.
And then all the other matches he had before he got injured, seeming like every single one of them, just seemed like he was trying so hard to be more than what he was.
Mm-hmm.
If Chris Jericho is the one thing that has made me give him more respect now than I did before, he knows his limitations to a certain extent. Not always, because he still thinks he can do that flip every once in a while and about to kill his damn self.
Talking about the lion salt.
Yeah. And every time he'd be down there halfway off the darn, about to fall through the ropes while his belly's shaking off. You know what I'm saying? But besides that, majority of his offense is simple. He ain't got to go too far. And his top rope game is, he ain't, just like Tanahashi, he ain't doing it quite as often as he used to. That's right. We okay. We got that. But, yes, when it comes to wrestling, dude is so overrated. He is beyond overrated. But from a making money and putting butts in seats, I can't deny the guy. He puts butts in seats. What do you think?
So, I mean, we kind of share the same mindset. Like, the reason why I asked is because you can't go on wrestling media right now without seeing something about CM Punk, and how his influence with WWE and yada, yada, yada. I just don't want people to forget that the man had dogged this company that he's currently in for almost a decade about how they, almost killed him, how they called him on his wedding day to fire him, how all of this stuff and whatnot. I'm not saying that someone can change their mind. I'm just saying don't act like it didn't happen. And like these years of him, trashing the place. And I mean, granted, yes, you have someone with the correct mindset and willingness to work for money like Seth Rollins is using, and, so to speak, all the rest of them are using this as a storyline in order to put those butts in seats because they know part of the allure of CM Punk is that he's controversial. He's edgy. You're not going to know what he's going to say He's not sticking to the script with his promos and stuff like that, which I give him that. He's built that aura about himself, and that's part of the allure, the legend that is him, which is attracting the fans and stuff like that. What is he going to say? What is he going to do next? You know, that kind of deal. But like you said, in ring, you're not getting someone who's a Bryan Danielson. You're not getting someone who is possible Okada or something like that. You know,
Zack Sabre Jr. stuff
right,
like that. Yeah,
you're getting someone who is on their way out, and I'm almost to the extent of saying, controversial take, that he's become the thing that he hated the worst. Like, he dogged that all these part-timers are coming in and taking the place of a full-time wrestler. And there's no way you can tell me why he's doing full-time showings, being on SmackDown, NXT, Raw. He's not going to be wrestling full-time. Not like the rate that he was doing. There's no way. He's closer to 50 than he is to being a 40-year-old and a 30-year-old, you know, from 10 years ago. And so you're taking away that, and I mean, let's face it though, the WWE and other wrestling promotions for that matter, they have a problem, and AEW is doing well, and I'm not going to get off on this tangent, but their stars are older. The people who are their superstars are older, and people need to build new stars and create those new stars. Most of the stars right now are in their 40s, but that's a different conversation for a different time. So, is CM Punk overrated? To a certain extent, yes. He's definitely overrated. Is he going to bring what WWE wants him to bring, which is viewership and money from merchandise sales and stuff like that? You bet your bottom dollar. And he's possibly getting them a chance at a TV rights deal with the competition. So, you know, we shall see as the new year comes around. But final question on your list of questions. What you got?
Okay, this one's more out left field than the first one.
Okay.
So, during the, I guess you could call it the phase right with WWE right before AEW kind of took over, it became more of a big deal for indie guys to get out there and, you know, work on their craft, and then all of a sudden hit the big time, go to New York, you know, like they used to say back in WCW.
Yeah.
Go to New York, that's where you're going to make your money. And then AEW came in and said, well, we're going to be the indie darling almost, because we're going to get all these indie guys we think are so great and wonderful, and because they helped us make, you know, All In, so we got the momentum, let's run with it. But then CM Punk came along, and all of a sudden, that indie spirit kind of went down a bit, because all of a sudden, somebody who was a big name and a big draw kind of made some of the indie stuff not look so great anymore. And what I worry is, and me and you have kind of talked about this off and on, and here's where my question really comes in now. Is it because, and I'll use a Jim Cornette phrase for lack of a better term, because he's the one that said the most, is indie BS the thing that's hurting AEW? Or is it really just the thing we talked about at first, them not developing stars to give us storylines that we care about?
So I'm going to be careful in how I answer this, because I think it's a kind of mixture of several different things. So let's just look back that WWE was producing what they were producing back then. But at the same time, NXT was the indie darling show. Like, they had your Johnny Gargano, they had Adam Cole, you know, the folks from ROH were making their routine visits to NXT, a Triple H ran show, and it was doing great. In fact, it was doing so great, they purposely had to pull things back from NXT because it in my estimation, better than their main roster shows. Like they will have a PLE for NXT on Saturday, and it will be a whole heck of a lot better than the PLE that they would have the next day on Sunday. It's like, oh well, they gave me the main course on Saturday and the appetizers on Sunday. Like I don't want to watch And then AEW came along right around the time where they started trying to redevelop what NXT was, and there was that big hole from what NXT was to what AEW was being, which was that show that had just, it wasn't about storylines and, soap opera drama. It was about professional wrestling. And, it was, you had your indie wrestlers who just did just that. They weren't actors, which, most wrestlers are good at doing both. They can act and they can get out there and do the physical stuff with wrestling or whatnot. Most good ones are able to do that. But you have AEW then at some point, because it was before CM Punk had came, they've had their, Christian Cage come out, and granted it was like a wet fart. Like, hey, we have this, superstar coming, and then it was like Christian Cage, and everyone's like, oh, so, and then, you had Sting, you had all these, well-known names that came into the company, and they started slowly integrating into like sports entertainment and not a wrestling show that happened to do. Because the way that I look at both of those two main companies, WWE is a sports entertainment company that happens to dabble in some wrestling. AEW used to be a wrestling company that dabbled in sports entertainment, and now they're becoming one and the same because there's big difference in between how you lead those in. So like AEW is now trying to be a sports, now granted, they are trying to get back to being a wrestling company that dabbles in sports entertainment, but for the majority of 2022, they were really trying to be the Pepsi to WWE's Coca-Cola. Like they really were. It wasn't this alternative, hey, try Dr. Pepper. No, it was like, hey, we're number two. Try us. We do the same thing. We're here. We do. No, that's not what got you the fans to begin with. So I don't think that indie wrestling has hurt. I think it's only helped because a lot of people see the work rate that indie performers do. However, like you said, I think it's a bit of both where they still need to, the booking for AEW needs to change. It needs to stop trying to be WWE light and just be AEW. Like they had ranking systems. They had, they had a bunch of things that made it so unique. It was its own thing. Now you look at it from 2021 to 2023, it looks exactly like WWE light. It's no longer like an AEW because, like I said, they had the rankings. They reset every year. The rankings actually meant something, and it was highly entertaining. I don't want to beat on the dead horse with this, but I just feel like it's just a mixture of a lot of things. They just need to make sure that, if they're wanting to succeed, there's several things that they want to do, but on this point, what they need to do is focus on being a wrestling company that may so happen to do sports entertainment and really pushing your young, hungry talent to the forefront with little speckles of your, seasoned veterans in there. But what do you feel like on this topic?
I believe a lot of that indie spirit has kind of died in the wake of trying to compete with a bigger brand. And there are parts of me that say the Continental Classic, for all of the mess we joke about Tony and his tournaments, this one has legs because it's doing what WWE would never do. It's giving people something to actually pay attention to and care about and say, hey, do you see what the rankings are? Hey, did you check out what the points left? Who might be this? Who might be that? Because just like in American football, the playoffs matter.
Yeah.
And if you got something that's making me say, hey, Eddie Kingston lost the first two matches, but guess what? He won again. You still got a shot that's keeping you in the loop and saying, okay, wait a minute, maybe I should pay more attention than I used to.
Yeah.
And things like that I like because it shows that they're still trying. They're trying to find their way with some things, but they've come to the reality of, okay, we can either be better or we can be, like you said, a WWE Light. And why be WWE Light when we were doing great as who we were?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I need them to do better, and it's just from outside looking in, I need them to promote themselves better. I need them to push their shows better. They were in Louisville, Kentucky, and the guy that lives in Louisville, Kentucky said he barely even saw any advertisement, even saw anything on the TV about it, which means that you're not spending the money to get people in the building. It's almost like you're more worried about the TV deal and not worried about the other thing that we care about as fans, want to be in the place. Because if something is popular, something is jumping, guess what? The people want to be in the place.
See,
not just talk about what it is.
I was going to delve into that. That's why I steered away.
So I'm gonna stop there. But it's just, I'm hoping that, like you said, I'm hoping that they've picked the lane finally. Because the only thing I always said I had a problem when they first started is, it always felt like they didn't pick a lane. They were just trying to do everything. They were trying to be GCW and MLW and goddamn WWE all at the same time. You can't do that. Pick a lane.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're finally kind of picking the lane, and I can live with that. So, All right. What's your last one, big man?
My last one, which is a good way to segue us on out. My last question for today is, out of all the wrestling promotions that are out there, which one, if you had to predict, which one do you feel like will have the best, and use that in any iteration that you want when I say the word best, which promotion you feel like will have the best 2024?
Now, it's going to sound kind of crazy, but only because of what I see. I really think TNA is going to have a much better year than everybody else. But I say that with the caveat that they have so much further they can go than the other two.
Yeah.
See, right now, let's be real, WWE is on top. They number one. There's not much higher they can go. AEW can go to number one again, like they were for a minute. But Impact really has a chance with NWA falling to the wayside like they about to do to themselves. And New Japan having a little foot, but not enough of a foothold to really do nothing. To really give themselves a chance, if they can find a way to get, that big TV audience they need. If they can find a place, because let's be real, they have talent there. They do decent matches there, from what I've been told. And they have the ecosystem to bring people in. Their biggest problem is what they don't have, what Tony has, which is billions of dollars.
Right.
That's the only difference between them and them. If they had the same billions of dollars that man had right now, we would be talking about them more than we talking about AEW, and that's fine. But with the roster they have, especially with the knockouts is still the best women's roster in the business, period.
Yeah.
If they can start milking that into giving them that, look across the board, I really believe they can become a solid, not only number 3 option, but even almost a number 2 option. But I say that knowing that it's a long shot.
Yeah.
It ain't like it's going to happen. It's a long shot. What about you, Doc?
So, it did not shock and surprise me when you said TNA. I think you have to kind of step back and look at the parameters of which, like I said, I said any And when I said which promotion would have the best, that could be financially, that could be just with their fan base and hitting whatever numbers that they're hitting and stuff like that. So, if I were to predict, WWE's numbers will continue to do what they have been doing and inclining, just depending on how they're continuing with their talent. Like there's certain areas where they're still falling off at, like the women's division. I think the women's division in everything but TNA needs improvement. Any other promotion outside of TNA, they need improvement. Because if I were to ask you who are the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, you will say,
was it Piper Niven and God, what's that girl name right now? Kelsey Green or something?
Chelsea Green. Yes, it took you a minute to think about it though. And those belts,
I can't never remember her name. That's the problem. It ain't her. It's like I know. I'm not good with names all the time, but yeah, her name is always escaping me.
Matt Cardona's wife. Relegate her to being someone else's wife. I am playing, but yeah, but it just kind of like with what Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out on, it's still the same exact way. Here it is 2 years later in a different regime, and those tag team championships mean absolutely squat. No. Yes, it's squat. They're just sitting there on those two ladies, and they're slapping tag teams together to be tag teams for the sake of being tag teams. It's not working. When you have like the TikTok tag team and they're losing and whatever.
When they're an actual tag team and they're actually good and they're actually interesting.
Right. But I digress, in the words of Taz. That's not. So it just kind of depends on what measurement of best you want to use for 2024. I think financially WWE is going to be at the top because just the new merger, the television deals and stuff, they're going to be at the top when it comes financially. When it comes
the advertising, all that stuff. Yeah.
So, but when we talk about work rate and stuff like that, I do see that TNA, they're going to have a big loss by losing Deonna Purrazzo, and I don't know of anybody else whose contract is coming up, but Deonna Purrazzo is definitely someone that a promotion's women's division could utilize. I don't know if WWE would utilize. She was there before in NXT, and they didn't do anything with her. But then again, a lot of folks have left and came back, and they're like, "Oh, let's get you up and whatever." Okada's contract is up, but people are thinking that while WWE is pushing Nakamura, who is close ties with Okada, just so that Okada can be tempted by, "Hey, look, your friend is being pushed here, in a great presentation. Come on over to WWE." If WWE gets Okada, I'd say they'd also win in some of the work rate as well. AEW has some work to do, but they're not going to close their doors anytime soon. We already talked about that, but I do think that this, with the C2 that they've been doing, I think it shows that they may have, if they're still on this trajectory, they will have probably the wrestling work rate, improvement. They'll be the better wrestling show, maybe, if they're still on this trajectory. But just to kind of agree with you, TNA will probably, as an overall improved show, they may be the most improved show by the end of 2024.
That would be great. Yeah, it would be great.
The rate that they're going. So, anywho, so we just did 3 questions apiece, man. So I know y'all can see this is a working title down here. That's my name, but down there, the Bro Talk down there is a working title. We wanted to do something different and new. Right now, our brother OHB, he started just a peek behind the curtain. OHB has started a new job, so that's why you've seen less of him on the channel and less of us, because we're all having to do different roles and stuff like that. But we're going to try to be a little bit more creative as the new year comes around, and do some different stuff like this, and possibly some other things in the bag. But continue to rock with us. Continue to, support us as you have been while we in this transition. It's not saying that we will never have the sips or a Mad Dog Monday. They just might be more special features than weekly presentations. So just continue to keep that notification on, like I said earlier. Again, like, follow, share, follow us on our social media. We'll have the link tree in the description below. If you want merch, go holler at our people over at Elevated Creations. I said that very country. Elevated Creations. Go holler at our friends over there and get you some merch. Music playing, go holler at our good friend and brother DJ L Spade for his music. He is currently also working on a new movie, so keep him.
And the guy got podcasts and all kind of stuff. So
yeah, keep supporting him. Get that merch. You see right there, being modeled by the beautiful and illustrious Hogs Wars. Yeah. Vanna Black in the building. Yeah, baby. But continue to just help us out and make us grow a little bit bigger here, giggity, in the year 2024 as 2023 has come to an end. But we want to thank you for everything. But before we get out of here, Hogs Wars, where can they find you at, man?
Mostly on the IG. And then, I'm always doing those ROHs on Thursday. And I understand that ROH is a niche show, but if you have time, go on YouTube and watch those matches. I'm telling you, you're missing out on some of the best wrestling right now that would probably just knock your socks off. You wouldn't even believe it. Because everybody's on there. They're flying, man. They're flying. And then, on side note, wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you, Festus, if that's what you do. And, take care of each other, man, because life is it's long, but it's short. And, you're not promised to be here the next 10 seconds. So, hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, keep people in the butt if you need to. But, just be there for the people. Yellow boy.
You people. So you can find me at your mama's house eating her leftovers. But more importantly, you can find me on Twitter at badass_yellowboy. You can find me. You can find me doing the WWE and the AEW results on our IG. And you can also find me here right now on your screen at YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting on? Subscribe. Don't be a loser. Subscribe to us and put that notification bell on so you know when we're doing stuff. And then go over on to our link tree so that you can see where our Twitch page is, and you can go follow us there and put your notification on there so you know when something's going on. And then you can go on Instagram and put the notification on there, because sometimes we do IG Live, so do that there. I think I hit everything. But yeah, I can't follow what you just said as far as the holiday season, but happy holidays to all of you who will celebrate. Make sure that you enjoy the time. If you have time off, enjoy it with your families. Don't know if we'll be doing anything next weekend, as next weekend is the holiday season, and it's going to be close to Christmas Eve, and Christmas Eve. The Mayan holiday apocalypse will be upon us next weekend, so don't know if we'll be posting anything or not, but keep your notification on. So, anywho, we're going to get out of here, y'all. We've done held y'all long enough, so on behalf of Hogs Wars, a Missing in Action OHB, I'm Yellow Boy. This is Bros, Brews, and Botches, and we just did a little bro talk. So until next time, we love you, And we out. See y'all.
Peace.
Every second, can't stop hustling from sunrise to sunset. I can't stop hustling every minute, every second, can't stop hustling. Finna go like there ain't no end. Finna go till I cannot breathe, cannot see. Shout so loud that I cannot speak. Finna blow this scene to smithereens. That's a warning and a promise. No lie when I speak this honest.